And so what you can see is that each kind of office is going to be able to provide their own type of support depending upon your level as a school, kind of the resources that are going to be provided within the school itself. And so here are a number of other folks that are going to be joining and supporting this grant while at the school. So initially, we're just in the planning and getting everything ready phase, and this is that opening window for that, so that way you're provided with a good detailed information and kind of the next steps and give you consumable bites of information, because it's a lot of information to go through, but this is a way in which we can start to kick that off and move forward. And again, here you can see other instructional services staff that's supporting this particular grant in the various natures in which they work within the county. Nancy, if you want to move to the next slide. But ultimately, this is also provided and funded through other folks. And what you can see is the DODEA grants actually have been working with Fairfax County at least over the last decade, a little over the last decade, have provided a number of grants to the county that has really provided funding to bring forward a variety of different programs and options and opportunities, of which this particular one, the Code Up grant, is just one of them. And we're really excited about this grant in terms of moving forward and providing some access and opportunities for the students in your schools. And I hope that you all are excited about the opportunity as well. At this point in time, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to what I would say is the experts, to Nancy, to go ahead and move forward. Nancy, I don't know if there's anyone else you want to introduce that I may have missed, or as we're going through here and get ready to kick it off.
Yeah, this has definitely been a collaborative event, creating this grant, developing the grant, working on it, with Alex Fuentes as one of the very lead writers as well. So, and it is a collaboration, and the grants office as well. As big shout out to the grants office. I think they're busy today with some ESSER things, so they are not on this call, but they are huge in terms of getting this application out and the award. So we are excited. We are calling this grant Code Up for Integrate, Innovate, and Inspire. And I did put the DODEA grant label here. This is something that we will use and we will ask you to use as we move forward in anything that we send out to families. We'd like to logo this. We'd like to put hashtag and at DODEA grants. They love to see their logos. They love to retweet and resend out a lot of the information that we're sharing. And it really does help us get money in the future. They like that. So we're excited to share with you. We just had created 2 logos. So we have 2 choices, choice number 1 and choice number 2. And I'm going to launch a poll and ask you all to voice your opinion. And we'll choose one of these 2 logos to be our logo for our grant. So let's get started with that. I'm launching the poll right now. And you can go ahead and show us what's your preference. Ooh, already moving fast, you guys. Good. Okay, I think we're good. I'm going to show you the results. There you go. Can you see the results? I can't see my screen right now. Yes, okay. So it looks like by a hair, choice number 1 is our winner. So awesome. So that will be our logo. So that'll be our main logo. And then for the bottom of the page sort of thing, we'll put funded by DODEA grants. And that'll be this logo here in the center. And so just as an overview, the schools that were included in this grant all had at least 10% military connected students. We also, in Fairfax County, that's about 42 schools that would have qualified. But we did look at schools that had a higher free and reduced lunch percentage as schools we wanted to target, feeling that those schools could use a little bit of an extra bump, and this would be a great way to do that with STEM and computer science education. The grant award is a $2 million grant over 5 years. So it starts this year, and this year is what we consider our planning year. Okay. And we'll get to that in a few minutes. So this is these are the schools rather that are involved that have agreed to participate and will be getting the funds to move forward. All right, and as for the goals, we have 2 goals at our grant. Goal 1 is to increase mathematics. achievement among military connected students in grades 3 through 6. So that's our elementary school. And the end of the grant is May 31st, 2027. We will be looking for qualitative and quantitative measures throughout the grant of the life of the grant. And then goal 2 is for our upper grades. And this is to increase engagement in STEM pathways among military connected students in grades 7 through 12. Again, same qualitative and quantitative measures, and again, ends on the 31st. And to that end, Jeremy had mentioned before, Kirk Vandersall. Kirk Vandersall is not a Fairfax County employee, but is hired by the grant. He is a requirement of the grant, actually, not him personally, but evaluators. We have an external evaluator who will be making sure that we're keeping on track and helping us report to DODEA. And I will actually be working directly with him. And so there'll be a lot of requirements with the data collection, and we can talk about that at future meetings. And I'm going to ask Alex if she would pick up this next piece.
Yes, so on this, yes, thank you.
Sure.
So on this page, we wanted to include this visual and a link to the public page on STEAM and computer science to really underscore that the approach that we are hoping for is for schools and programs to work with you to identify what initiatives are already underway, what priorities are there, and then connect to and support through that work. So the goal is to not be layering in more, but to understand, all right, in your school, you're already engaged in X, Y, and Z initiative, or this emphasis on an instructional shift in mathematics, and then tie the computer science and STEAM to that work. So visually represented in these icons is that for computer science and STEAM instruction, it's really about engaging students in computer science practices and engineering practices that support their understanding of content learning goals and development of POG growth. So listed in the text here are some of the initiatives and programs that we connect to. We also included information about what the VDOE expects. So the VDOE has published standards of learning for computer science with an expectation that we're integrating K-8. And we have been working more incrementally to really understand how can we support where in the planning and pacing guides, for example, does computer science or STEAM really help to enhance student learning? And then making sure to work with our content area partners to build in those connections and elaborate and provide the supports that are needed, the professional learning that's needed. So we have not said as a division, everybody's now doing computer science in this way, because we're working with schools to develop these resources. This is a real opportunity for us to work collaboratively with the schools participating. Large emphasis here on elementary and some potential with middle school for helping to achieve the goals that you have in place by creating more opportunities for students to engage in computer science and STEAM, supporting the content learning goals that you're already after. So I hope that helps, and you can explore this public page. It links to our design principles, but I hope that helps with a sense of collaboration and coherence versus one more thing to do in an already overwhelmed day.
And this is for you as well, Alex.
Oh, great. All right. So this slide represents just a quick high-level visual of the components of the grant. So when we were making the application for the grant, we were working very closely with Amy Hunter and the math team to emphasize integration of computer science to support math learning. Now, computer science and STEAM, there's lots of ways in which that overlaps. So engineering design is another way in which we can really support math learning goals. The grant, although it is $2 million, it's also a 5-year grant. And so it wasn't enough money, we wish it wasn't enough money to provide school-based staffing in every elementary school for a coach. We were able to purchase one person, one full-time staff position for years 2 through 5 of the grant. So that person will be housed centrally and supporting the elementary schools in that close collaboration and providing some coaching. There are opportunities there are funds set aside for hands-on learning tools as well. We can work with schools to identify what would work best from each of the schools. The other aspects of the grant are focused on additional STEAM and computer science activities outside of the school day. So summer and after school programs. This could be scholarships for more students to participate in Curious Minds and Young Scholars summer programs. And the after school is really interesting here. We already have ESSER funding for middle school after school programs. So the after school will be something for us to explore in this planning year, how that would unfold for elementary. Makerspaces is another option where schools could use the funds to expand those opportunities for students. And so the way that the grant management works is Nancy and I are really partners here, that I'll be supporting more so from the coaching and content area integration standpoint and planning. And then Nancy has so much expertise on developing all of these enrichment programs. So we'll be collaborating, but that's sort of row one is the place where I'll be emphasizing, and rows 2 and 3 are where Nancy will emphasize.
Very good. Yes, absolutely. And then if you can do this one as well.
Great. For the secondary, this one, we have, the grant includes a $3,000 stipend for one staff member at each of the secondary schools, and that person would focus in on career experiences and pathways exploration. So there, it takes time and work to support students through internships and other career opportunities. And so we're exploring what's possible in terms of students being able to access and engage in these opportunities, students and families understanding what courses are available, and being able to tie those courses to their career interests to navigate the pathways that are offered in our schools. So that stipend is available for that work. And then similar to the elementary aspects of the grant, there's funds available to enhance extracurricular activities, and that is after school programs, summer programs, and TSA or CS, the student organizations that are connected to our CTE programs.
Thank you. And so Alex said, I am Nancy Rowland, and I've been working with the Department of Defense Education Activity Grants since 2010 with Fort Belvoir, primarily elementary school. Hayfield Pyramid also had a grant at one point, and of course this larger grant, and Whitman. So I've been working with these projects for quite a while, which is handy because I do know the ins and outs of DoDEA part of the aspect and that piece, but I also have helped work on creating the summer programmings and helping implement them. So my other hat is I am the TJ Team Outreach Specialist, and I do a lot of planning and programming. Some of your AARTs know me quite well because I do a lot of planning with them with field trips to TJ, and those are things that I'm hoping to continue and building and developing those relationships. And so that's how I can leverage some of my skill sets. So year one, this is the current year that we're in for the grant, and again, 5-year grant. The year one is considered the planning year for the grant. And in the grant application, we had mentioned that we would create a planning committee, and this is where I'm going to ask the principals and leaders in your school to nominate somebody to be that person, and we'll give you a link to actually put a name in. I know that principals are extremely busy, as are probably APs, and are pulled in multiple directions. I know everybody is, and we are trying to, as Alex mentioned, try to take as much of this as at the central area, so that this is not less pressure on you. But it is good to have somebody that can give us input. There'll be things like purchases of supplies and materials that we'll be doing it later, and we want your input. We want to know what your schools need, what your schools already have, and so we're not duplicating things, that we're giving you what you actually want and will use in your schools. And so some of the suggestions of people that you might nominate for this role: if you have a STEAM resource teacher, that person would be amazing. Math coach or other resource teachers. The SBETs potentially, or your instructional coach would be a great resource for this, or librarian who's interested in maker spaces, AARTs, or potentially ESOL coach would be great nominees. Probably not somebody who's is a classroom teacher, just because they are so dedicated, and these meetings will likely be daytime meetings, but potentially could be after school. But again, these would be the better choices if possible. Like to have about a monthly meeting as a regular update, and then hopefully these nominees will then update the principals on what's happening, and maybe a periodic meeting back with all of the principals as well, just to let you know where we're standing and what next year will look like. So again, as Alex did say, we're going to be looking to hire a centrally based person. And actually, I think Alex, I want to let you take this one because this talks about some of the, I think you've mentioned a little bit already, but you can go take that one.
This is great. So I wanted to provide an opportunity for Amy Hunter to also speak to the work that we'll be collaborating on. So this team member will report to me from a central office standpoint, but we'll be working in close collaboration with Amy Hunter so that the experience on the school side of things is really integrated with the work that's already underway. So Amy, is there anything you'd like to say about our collaboration?
Yeah, thanks, Alex. So I'm the coordinator for math, and we are really excited about this opportunity. We believe really strongly that this shouldn't be another thing for teachers. And so the work that we're doing with Alex and her team, and we'll do with this person that will be hired, is to help them understand our math instructional framework, which is an inquiry-based approach and offers ample opportunities for deep exploration of STEAM and CS concepts. So we would use that as our foundation, and we'd all be speaking the same language around what best practice in mathematics instruction looks like. And then the opportunity to make connections will come in these individuals' expertise in the area of STEAM and CS. They'll be able to infuse opportunities to go deeper with content and really make those connections within our existing math program. So right now we're working with Alex's team to kind of do some shared learning around best practices in mathematics and make those connections. And I think by the time we hire this additional person, that those connections will be strong and solidified, and we'll be able to onboard them easily, and then hopefully transfer that learning to your schools and teachers.
Great, thank you, Amy. I think that summarizes most of the key points to share on this slide.
Yeah, I think you're right. And then we're on this one. You want to take this one as well? You kind of mentioned on these as well, but we can.
Great, yeah,
kind of...
let's go. I think we skipped one. Let's go
Did
back
I skip one?
one.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oops. Ah. Let me go back. Okay, hold on. Here we go. That one?
Yes, that's great.
Ah, thank you.
Yeah, so what we did here was just to illustrate a little bit about timeline. So the grant is a supplement, not supplant kind of a program. So we captured here in terms of the after school programs, when we're thinking about middle school, we have some ESSER funding for middle school programs. So that work would likely begin in 2025. But the elementary, if there's any after school work, that might begin a little bit sooner. And then summer programs starting 2024. In terms of supplies and materials, this will be decided from the school perspective, and we're partners here to help navigate share what we know about available resources and what we found in terms of how they're supporting the content learning goals. So illustrated here are Kiva planks. They're also Kappa block version of these. But the planks have a lot of engineering design and mathematical applications. And then the microbit is a small miniature computer, which has tons of creative designs, works really great in a makerspace, but also supports content. We had a team of teachers who, in our cohort just this fall, were engaging students in designing a game with a microbit connected to math concepts. And they reported back that students who hadn't been engaged in math learning or hadn't experienced success in math recently were really engaged and successful in learning that content. So there's lots of potential there with the computer science and math merge. The Ozobot pictured next to that has other potential. It's one of many robotics options. That one has some block-based coding applications, but there's others we can explore. And the Bbot is one that we are supporting even as early as pre-K. So for schools that have that option, you'll be receiving some more information about pre-K even this school year. So we're trying to go full scale across the division, but this grant really allows us to make some progress with the math integration much more fast. On the next slide, we've got our secondary programs that we've spoken to a little bit, and this breaks down just a little bit more detail on what's possible. So we've got that stipend position, supporting career experiences and pathways, and then listed out some of the other ways in which the funding can be utilized to support increased access for students to engage in STEAM and computer science. Great. So we have a little bit of an interactive component to this. So if you are on this call and you are a centrally based person, then you'll pay attention to the next 2 yellow slides. And if you're on this call, I think I pasted the right thing in there. I put into the chat the link again. In your school-based, you'll pay attention to the blue slides. So the first slide is highlighting in each of the color codes. The first of the color-coded slides is highlighting elementary programs, and the second is highlighting secondary. And what we'd like to do is invite you to take one of these sticky notes, put your name, any other information you want to share, and then just drag one or more of those to the part of the project that you're most excited to support as a centrally based person on the yellow slides. And on the blue slides, we'll do similar work, but dragging your name or school name even over to the part of the project that you're most excited about. So just a way for us to understand where you are as collaborators, and it can help inform our next planning meeting.
Alex, this is Kim. Just to clarify, just one. See if people are interested.
You can put as many as you need, please. They would never deny you.
And we'll continue giving another minute or so for people to weigh in. If there's anything you want to share on mic, questions you have or comments, so far we've almost completed the content of the meeting.
And you can just feel free to turn your mics on and ask your questions if you like. We're a small enough group, I feel like it will be okay. Everybody's hard at work, I see. That's good. Oh, thanks, Rachel. Rachel just put in the chat too some information about TSA, the Technology Student Association, and all the great work they do. I know they go on a lot of trips. We're hoping to be able to support some of that, and even with materials and supplies. It's just that, Latasha, it's just in the PowerPoint. So you should be able, when you open the PowerPoint, to slide one of those tiles over and place it right in there. If you're in Google. Oh, good. There we go. Excellent.
So I did have a question.
Sure.
Are we creating programs or building on existing programs, or both, or neither?
Yeah, so for the summer programs, the way that we framed the grant was to provide scholarships to existing programs. So we could just increase student access to programs that are already in place. Levi, were you interested in more than the summer?
No, just summer, but I'm wondering, is that set in stone, or can that money be used differently?
So the way it's funded, Levi, is that we put in 2 teachers and 1 IA per school, sort of like the model of the Young Scholars model, but potentially that could be used in a number of different ways, right? So it would be the idea that we would probably be able to reach about 36 students total. And then that would be per school for the summer, say, for instance, and that would so double the Young Scholars reach that the schools could potentially have. If the schools chose to, when we think we had talked earlier when we were actually writing the grant, if they decided that they wanted to use those funds for to send the students to a program that's already in existence, then they could use them that way. That would be an option for schools. So it really would be up to the school, and that really could be on a school by school basis.
And so then if a school wanted to, in essence, buy a program that already exists, would that be a possibility?
It would, there would be, we have to, that's kind of the planning things I think that really need to be honed into, because some of the funding, the way it's structured now, it's in hourly teacher. And DODIA grants would just require some changes that could happen, and it would just need to be approved. But if that's something that's really of interest and we would want to purchase a program, then yeah, that could definitely be a way we could do that for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. Good question. Same for after school. You know, a lot of the things that Fort Belvoir has done is done after school programming in a similar way to the Young Scholars, where they use content like engineering is elementary, for instance, or you know, the Autobots, or a variety of robots and things. Rachel Domer was huge when we first started out, helping us kind of create these programs, and those were the model of two teachers and one IA. So potentially, you know, 18 students per teacher with an IA who can share, and then we could potentially purchase the robots if that was something that was of interest, and that could be a way to use those funds too. And so those are things that each school can decide, and we can work on as over time, and that can be something that changes. So if it didn't work out the way you expected first year and you wanted to do something different second year, that's a possibility. Of course, with limited supply money and things, but those are definitely things that we can think about. Oh, Jan, do you want to turn on your mic?
Yeah, I just had a question in terms of these scholarships, because I understand how grants, and I know how federal grants work. Reimbursements are based on expenditures, not on revenue, not on giving another program funding. You can't do that with these grants. So I don't know how you would provide scholarships per se, and how you would execute that.
Right, so it would be, versus the supplement versus supplant. So we were talking about a program that had, I'm trying to remember the name of it, that Levi can probably remind me, that hasn't been used in quite a while in the county, but that might be wanted to kind of resurrect. If we were to say two schools wanted to do that and they wanted to share those funds and place that program and potentially have students bused to one school, we could do it that way. You could pay for the staffing, right? So that, and then as teachers go to they would be providing that activity for the students. So yes, you are in essence right, but it's just a way how we use it, and it's just a little bit different.
Okay, but I guess my question is if a school, does the program have to be at that school? So it wouldn't be like someone going to IFTA or someone going to the CTE program and you're giving them a scholarship to attend those. That's not what you're talking about?
Not necessarily. One of the things that we were thinking of and mentioned in the grant was like potentially, and I was hoping to work with Katie Richter on this, but with the middle school, for instance, having students, we wanted to get some access to TJ and have some of their labs. So, you know, the planetarium as an example. So if we did maybe a couple of day program or week-long program where we had the students go to that lab and see that lab, and that could be multiple schools that did that, if that's something that we were able to organize and create, and the principal was okay with it, and hire a teacher for that. So that would be how those funds could be used in that essence. So it would be a little bit different. But it would be a little difficult to use the funds to pay for, you know, to pay the fee for the student, like you're saying. But if we were to put a teacher in there and then provide the activities for the 18 students, then that sort of it's a similar way of doing it, but just a little bit different. Does that make sense?
Yes,
Okay.
exactly. So basically you're creating a separate program.
Right.
And the program was Curious Minds Academy.
Thank you. I blanked. I appreciate it.
Okay.
I knew you'd remember. Yes, we were chatting about that one because that was something that we thought was really, that would be great connection with math, I believe. And anyway, so that was just an option. There are many options that the county already has great programming already in place. So why reinvent the wheel, or maybe use what's already in place and tweak it. So those are just this, I think, that what we're thinking about. Any other questions? I'm trying to maintain love, math, and science. Yay. Good. Awesome. Right. So I would love it if you could, I'm going to put this up now. This is again on your PowerPoint. If you all wouldn't mind, you know, letting me know who your person of contact is. You can click down there. Thank you for, I see all this interest and I'm just clicking through all of the activities. And Melissa Chang used to work at our with Fort Belvoir too, back in the day, early on. Yay. Good to see your name again. Yeah, so all these great things that we're going to be doing, and it is fun to see just the activities, enjoyment of the students. That's one of the things I always say that I get the most out of in my job is I get to provide the things that are the kind of that extra piece for students that really engages them. I know Kara Faye is on this call and she just went to the Chesapeake Bay Foundation with some students, and those field trips are remarkable, and those are the kind of things that we're hoping that we can provide. The other thing that we have on our little to-do list here is the planning meetings. And if you can just put your name on the ticket here, or the person that you're going to be, or your school, and push it down to what day of the week works best and what time of day works best potentially. We can potentially move this around as time goes on if it becomes problematic, but we'd like to choose a day and make it a monthly thing so that we can get on the calendar and make sure that we have our regular meetings and get to the hard work of choosing all the fun things that we need to do for the next few years.
And Nancy, I added in on the very last slide an optional opportunity. If anybody would like to share questions or feedback that can help to inform the next meeting agenda, or if you'd like to share celebrations of work that's already underway in your school that you are connecting to this grant.
Oh, that'd be great. That's a good idea. Thank you. Perfect. Yeah, I know some of you, have already a STEAM teacher or a math coach, and how does that layer in? And that would be great to know. And I know Alex has a wonderful spreadsheet of many of the things that you already do, but some of you may have other things that you're adding. Oh, right, cool. And then such amazing STEAM connections. Yay. What kind of robotics are you using? I'm watching you type.
Of course you would ask me that. I don't even know.
Oh, that's okay. That's all right.
Who? I know there are two people on here from Rolling Valley, Melissa and Keith. What sort of robots?
Right now they're using Autobots, but we're going to start out here. We're going to start using a VEX kit with that great group, and they're going to build to become a competition team.
Oh, wonderful. So that's something exciting. So then that would be a wonderful, if a couple of schools wanted to start thinking about that. I know in FCPS a lot of times, and Rachel could talk to this, but instead of doing like the Lego League things, we're doing the competitions amongst the schools locally, because the competitions became more expensive to do the traveling. Am I saying that right, Rachel? You can interrupt me.
Yeah, definitely. And with VEX, they have what they call local scrimmages. So it's set up similar to competition, but it's opportunities for the local schools to compete against each other to prepare for the main competitions. But to be honest, a lot of the schools that are just getting started just like doing the scrimmages for the experience. And also just to add that VEX is a associated component of TSA. So that's another great connection there.
There you go. That would be perfect. And it's great to start in the elementary. There's an elementary version too. Is that right, Rachel?
Yeah, there's multiple. There's VEX Go, there's VEX 1, 2, 3, there's VEX IQs. There's a whole array. I'm happy to put the VEX website in the chat.
Please, that would be wonderful. Thank you. And then and I see the Whitman was hosted a STEAM Expo, and I would love this for our next year. Maybe this is something that we can do as a group. We could have a STEAM Expo, whether at Whitman or another school, but where we invite all of the students from these schools to potentially, or maybe, there's a few of you, so maybe divide it into two groups, but it would be great to do that. I have a lot of contacts with people that might potentially add to that. And Dottie, Lynn, I see you have your hand raised.
I just put something in the chat really quick. I like to be in the know, but don't necessarily need to my question is, will principals be CC'd with the point of contact and emails just so that we can be tangentially involved?
Sure. Yes, absolutely.
Awesome.
And you'd absolutely be welcome to join at any time. I just feel like it's a lot to ask you all the time to join, and I want to make sure that we know that that who's, that somebody's there on a regular basis, I guess. is what I'm
Absolutely.
saying.
But for the emails, when you say like point of contact, will be CC'd so I can put somebody else?
Absolutely,
Awesome.
100%.
Thank you.
We'll make sure I CC all the principals as a regular. I'll put them in the optional, and then this way you can just decide whether you want to be there or not. Peter? Come on.
When do you need the names by? I haven't identified my person, so just a deadline on when you need that name by.
Yeah, I'd like to have another meeting in a month. Well, I guess not a month, maybe early December. So if we just like, maybe if you can get me something by the end of next week, would that be enough time?
Hopefully.
Okay.
Can I, do you want me to still fill out the Google link or just email you directly?
You can just email me directly. That's fine. That's fine.
I think one other thing I'd just like to call attention to is like the tremendous amount of expertise among the people who are already in this space. So as I'm watching people type into the spreadsheet, like Melissa Sly, she developed our app development learning experience, I think maybe summer 2018. Then I saw Michelle Crable typing in here, and she's been in so many of our courses and integrating all kinds of different engineering opportunities and computer science. So that's just, Latasha, I've heard so many great things. I haven't gotten a chance to work with you, but I've been hearing wonderful things about the work that you're doing at Whitman. So just wanted to name, even with the few people who've been typing in some of these celebrations, it's so exciting to be able to have an opportunity and some funding that will allow further collaboration among the group here.
Yeah, absolutely. That's an understatement. I know the amount of brain power here for sure with Chris and Rachel and all of the gang that we've worked with over the years, and Levi, that just there's a lot of people who've done a lot of this work. And so again, not reinventing the wheel, just bouncing off all the great ideas that are already out there and just maybe adding to them and making them even better. I think it's amazing. But thank you for all this. I see all this information coming out, and it's wonderful. Do we have anything else to add? Does anybody have another thought, question? Let's see if I'm missing anybody. I'm going to maintain multiple screens here.
I see Keith London from Rolling Valley has his hand.
Thank you. Yes, please.
Just
Go
quick
ahead.
question. You had put on the slide before about the makerspace for the libraries. I was hoping you could just expand on that. What does that mean? I know what makerspaces are, but I don't know how that will entail for the libraries.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Rachel. Sorry, Alex.
yeah, there's flexibility here. So Kim Siegel on the call is our elementary librarian specialist. And there are a number of schools that have been building out maker spaces, and I think that they take different forms in each of those spaces. The key here will be collaborating in terms of what that looks like for your school and how we can design it in ways that deepen the goals of the school. So our supporting content learning, our supporting interest and engagement in STEAM and computer science, awareness of different career opportunities and excitement, POG growth. So for a concrete example, there are some libraries that have a space carved out in the library with some different making resources and some robotics and computer science tools. So it really varies by site, and then the structure that they use to operate that also varies. And we have some examples across the division where people have been experimenting and leading in this space that we can learn from.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, there's definitely, and there's, like we said, there's already things like this happening throughout the county. So this might be something where we, to take a look or get some input from people who are already doing the work, and we can see what it looks like there. And then what works in your school might not work in another school, but that might be a good example. So we should probably do a little legwork on that and get some examples from some of our friends. All right. Well, thank you for all this input. This is amazing. I don't see anybody else's hand up, so I don't want to keep your time. I want to honor your time as well. As soon as if you don't put a name in today, that's fine. If you have a name, great, put it in. You can always change that person. Nothing is in stone. And you can email me, nhroland@fcps.edu. It's at the end of this. Again, hopefully you can try out your, you've all been given access, I believe, to the folder The folder is called Code Up, and it's Code Up DODEA 2022 MCAS grant. And you should all have access to that. And there's the grant narrative is in there, the grant budget is in there, the contact folder, the new logo will go in there, as well as the DODEA logo is in a folder. And as we have our meetings, I will keep the agendas and the PowerPoints in there as well, so that you'll have a reference if you wanted to go back and see what was talked about or what you missed. And we'll hopefully have a note taker to keep a notes in there as well. I did record this session, so for folks who couldn't attend, they can have the recording. So we can do that in the future as well. But if there are any questions, please reach out to either Alex or myself or both of us, and we will do our best to answer your questions. We are looking forward to working with you all and seeing all the great things that we can do for students. Anything else, Alex?
That's it. Thank you for the time.
Yeah, thank you. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks again. Appreciate you joining us.